post-traumatic stress, the battle is won. Generational curses, the battle is won. Everything that the devil tried, the battle is won. Sickness, diseases, every issue that we gotta go through, the battle is already been won us tonight. The battle is already been won us today. He can heal the sick. He can raise the dead. He can heal our bodies. There is nothing that the devil can do that God has not already been before us.
Good evening, my family and friends. Welcome to another week of Mind Your Mondays. I am your host, Marquez Johnson, the founder and visionary of Mind Your Business Mental Health Organization. So, of course, I ask you guys this every week. If you're coming in the room, I want you guys to do two things for me. I want you to like and I want you to share. Also, I want you to comment, but I really want you to like and share when you come in. I have a very great special guest on today. I consider him a good brother, a good friend, a good colleague, just all of that. We've been doing ministry together for years. I've known him to be a man of his word, a true man, and a mental health professional. And we need to see more like this African American men who are in this field. And so he has done us a great honor of coming in on the show on tonight. And I just want to welcome my good friend, Damion Boyd, all the way from Cincinnati, Ohio. Brother Boyd, how you doing on today, my brother?
I'm well. I'm well. And yourself, brother, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to be here. It's good to see you. It's good to be doing this show. I'm excited about what we're going to talk about. I just want you to introduce yourself formally rather, for all of our viewers on today.
Yes, actually, I am Damion Boyd Sr. because there is a junior. He also is interested in the mental health field, but he's going a little bit of a different track than
Okay.
his father. I promise you, I don't have anything to do with that. But yeah, my Damion Boyd Sr., probably known in other circles as Minister Damion Boyd Sr., but I've been interested in the mental health field for quite some time now. I started off as a case manager with Cuyahoga County Children and Family Services, and then from there moved to a place, Murders Taylor, what got me on the mental health track, and I've been in the mental health field for over the last 14 to 15 years of my life. So
That's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that. I'm outside today because it's such a beautiful day. So I figured, I'll come outside and, you know, uh, beautiful elements. So if y'all hear a few cars passing and all that, y'all just, I'm trying to talk. That's why I got my mic trying to block out that outside noise. But nonetheless, man, I just want to get straight into this conversation, man. The topic today is mental health amongst Black men. Of course, it is extremely stigmatized within our community, within our culture, as it relates to mental health, anything to do with the mind, because, of course, we have this perception to think that, we have to be strong for everybody. We have to, always, be hard and, have this hard, callous exterior where we don't let anything come in. But unfortunately, that is, you know, a very detrimental mindset. And so for us, we intend to, break the stigma as it relates to mental health within the African American culture. But when we talk about African American men, we are like the pillars that hold up this culture. And so for us to have a very strong culture, we have to be strong mentally. So tell me, Minister Boyd, if you don't mind me calling you Minister Boyd, how what have been some of your experiences as it relates to mental health, just you personally? Just you battling things mentally within all aspects of your life, career, family, um, you know, personal, whatever. What have been some of your experiences as it relates to mental health?
well, first of all, before I even answer that question, I have to start off very briefly telling my story, what interests me or got me into the field. And it's ironic that you mentioned that vulnerability or giving a portrayal of being hard and calloused, not letting into anything in. Well, about over 25 years ago. My oldest son is 25 years old. So this is a story about him. Around the time he was about 2 years old, his mom was involved in an abusive relationship. And Children and Family Services, Cuyahoga County had to be involved. I won't go into the details, but my interaction and my experience with the social service worker that I had that was handling the case and kind of helped walk me through the process really opened my eyes to the need, and not only the need, but also the benefit of having an agency or a worker particularly who is able to kind of help you and guide you along in the process that normally would be overwhelming,
Sure.
normally would be something that most men would, shun away from, not even be bothered with.
Yeah.
So it was through that interaction with that worker, at the time, and I say this with all due respect, and trying to remain politically correct in the society that we live in, that worker was a Caucasian female.
Sure.
And that interaction both had a positive and negative effect. Positive because of the type of worker and the commitment and the dedication she had, but negative because it was someone who didn't look like myself, someone who wasn't African American. And we've all had that experience of a worker from an agency coming into our home. Right. So from that brief interaction, that's what brought me, the inspiration to get on this track and in this field.
Yes.
So, but to answer your question more succinctly, the field of mental health is something that we don't like to touch as men because, as you mentioned, we're taught to be hard. We're taught to be the rock. We're the support that holds our family together. Yeah. And mental health is something that's tied very closely with mental health emotions is something that we are all but told not to show or not to give or not to, allow anybody to see. Right. So it has been my, my experience in working with young men, especially professionally, that, it's considered weak, if I show emotion. And I have to remind them, even though you're macho and you're angry and frustrated, and a lot of times we show it in fighting, but anger is an emotion, And so on one aspect, you're trying to remain and have this tough exterior. But on another aspect, you are being emotion. You are being emotional, an emotional creature. Yes. And mental health is something that as I mentioned, I've been working with this population for over 15, going on 15 years now, and seeing it in our amongst our people and in our population is something where what happens in the house stays in the house. That type of mentality.
Yes, sir.
And so I've mostly seen it from that background. Yes. So stepping into the house as a young African American male sometimes lets those barriers down, and it's like, okay, I'm a little bit more comfortable. I can be more free and forthcoming with my issues. So,
yeah, absolutely. You bring up a very valid point when you say sometimes, and this is not to discredit, but I mean, it's just a statistical fact. Even in doing some of our meetings and partnerships with some agencies, they are extremely excited when they see the African American race interested in partnering with them, because they even state that this is a field or an area that is extremely scarce with African American support, because African Americans, we tend to want to relate to whomever is on the other side of the table. So if you don't look like me, or if you don't come from an area that you can say, okay, yeah, I know what it's like to grow up in this culture, then sometimes it's hard for us to relate. So that is one of the elements that create a closed mindset then, because I can't relate to you. You don't understand my language. You're not able to read between the lines, and what you may diagnose as a schizophrenic or as hostile behavior. It's just me expressing what has been there, buried, or emotions that have been buried deep inside of me. So instead of meeting me there and reading between the lines, it's a harsh diagnosis, and now that builds up a reticence itself.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny that you say that. That's spot on. Spot on. One of the biggest dilemmas that I had initially, I was moved down here to Cincinnati by a mental health organization as a program director. So I've seen this thing from an administrative side.
Sure.
And one of my tasks was hiring, and acquiring staff. And
Yes.
one of the biggest problems that I had is finding a clinician who could properly diagnose for that very reason.
Yes.
Because when you're dealing with someone, and I mean the elephant that's in the room, when you're dealing with somebody on the other side of the table who's Caucasian, we have a tendency in the African American community to put on airs, or we don't want to air our dirty laundry.
Right.
So what may be misdiagnosed because I'm presenting in one way
Yes.
is actually properly diagnosed when I'm around somebody of color, or I'm sitting in front of somebody of color. You get to see the real me.
Yes, sir.
And so that was one of my biggest issues. And so my solution was, how about I just go to school and do it myself? Because I noticed, clients felt more comfortable talking to me,
Yes.
an African American male, so
Yes.
that's definitely right on, sir. Definitely.
Let me ask you this question, Damion. As an adolescent, as a child, how often did you hear about mental health? I mean, in all areas, like within your family or within church, or within your school or your friends or anything like that. Before you chose to go on that career path, how often did you even hear about mental health?
Slim to none. Slim to none. It wasn't actually until my late 20s that I can remember off the top of my head actually hearing something being termed, or being associated with actual mental health.
Yes.
Growing up, especially in the inner city of Cleveland, a young African American male, I mean, mental health isn't something that we rarely, where we openly and freely talked about,
Sure.
So it wasn't until my late 20s, and I'm even venturing to say 30s, that I actually, early 30s, that I heard about, the term or the phrasing of mental health. So.
Yes. Yeah. You know what? And with this generation that's coming up, they have, just great resources. To hear about, certain things, social media, I mean, it's just technology is advancing, and particularly within the, range that, we grew up, you're, a tad bit older. Well, you're a little older than I am, not that much older, but, just even, we just had word of mouth, and like you said earlier, you spoke of the phrase that I believe really held up the African American culture, and that was, what happens in this house stays in this house. You know what I'm saying? And so, I don't believe that, they had bad intentions for us. They just didn't want their business all out in the street. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, we really didn't have that communication, but the next generation that's coming, they have resources and technology and engineering that allows them, to take things to the next level. And this, mental health thing is, now, they don't have to really, they could take advantage of these things, you know what I'm saying? And they
Very
can
much.
transcend, this culture and revolutionize, you know what I'm saying?
Very much.
I believe it's our responsibility to, as, the previous generation, to absorb that, to take that on, take that challenge on. It's uncommon for us, but it's needed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, very much. Very much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One of the key things, if I interject real quick,
Yes.
is that whether we want to admit it or not, especially in the African American culture, we are dealing with mental health from some aspect, some form. If it's not the result or the consequence, or in some vein of that area, we are dealing with it.
Yes.
So whether we want to acknowledge or not, we're a lot of times seeing the results. And I'm pretty sure many of our listeners, including yourself, we've heard those stories on the news, where, the mom, because of postpartum depression, unfortunately taking the lives of her own children, or the boyfriend, because of some PTSD or some anger management issues, taking it out on the infant and taking the life of the infant.
Right.
And it's unfortunate that it isn't until get to that tragedy stage that we're willing or trying to do something about it.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that's great about this generation. Just like you said, sir, they have resources literally at their fingertips and opportunities at their fingertips. And I like this opportunity to be available,
Yes.
And let them know that, guys like myself, yourself, not too far removed from their age group and their experiences,
Yes.
that we're here as well as resources in the community. So
Yes,
by
sir.
all means.
You spoke of something, and relating to being proactive. A lot of times, and we deal with this in psychology. We as a professional, we learn how to get to the root of
Mhm.
what's going on, because
Very
a lot of
much.
times,
Yeah.
we concern ourselves, and if we want to get spiritual here, and I know you and I, we see a lot eye to eye to things, spiritually, not religiously.
Yes.
You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? Spiritually, is that we concern ourselves with the symptoms a lot
Hmm.
of times, which is symptoms are indication that something is wrong. But after we see the symptoms, now we have to get to the root of it. You know what I'm
Very
saying?
much.
And a lot of times, even within the Christian culture, and I don't want to get too off base here, but within the Christian culture, we relate everything to, well, when we speak of sin, we relate everything to the act, what we're doing or what we're not supposed to be doing, when it's
Instead of the
much
cause.
deeper than that.
Hmm.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Very
And
much so.
so, if we're to reach a generation, or if we're to reach somebody doing, on a different level, now we have to get to the root of
Hmm.
what's going on, to the
Hmm.
root of why we see it, and don't get so caught up on, the response. I have to get to the root of what's going on.
Very much. Very much. Very much, sir. Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
I want to go to this next spot. As a father, as
Hmm.
a spiritual leader, how do you kind of incorporate, your views, and your I would say your techniques, or your beliefs in all in those areas as a father, raising young black men, and as a spiritual leader within the church. How do you incorporate, psychology and mental health support within those areas?
Well, throughout the course of my education, experience, and or training, I picked up some things along the way throughout my experience. I can't necessarily point to a specific, framework, but I picked up little bits and pieces here along the way. There was a parenting class that my wife and I, because we're both in the mental health field as well, that
Awesome.
we set in on it was an opportunity for PR, and for I was reaching out for a previous organization which I was working for, and my job was to acquire new client, new partnerships, new, just exposure for the organization.
Yes.
And one of the opportunities that I got is to attend a 10-week parenting class. And one of the main things that I took away from that parenting class is the showing of affection and the communication of love, as
Wow.
specifically a father, to a child,
Yes.
and they would always check in with us, when the last time you've told your child you love them and you've expressed to them your love for them and how you feel. And that has stuck with me, so much so that now my kids, majority of them being males, because I have 4 boys myself and
Yes.
1 girl, that is considered not manly to be overly, once again, emotional. There's
True.
that idea and that theme right there.
Yes.
But just taking that thought process and letting because tomorrow is not promised,
Yes.
and so taking that thought process of communicating to my sons, especially, I love you, I'm proud of you, and encouraging, because a lot of times another area that mental health rears its head, especially in the black communities, are in fatherless homes. Homes
Yes.
where there is no father, there is no or disciplinarian, or there is no structure, there is no order, and there's that person who we look to for guidance.
Yes.
It's not there, and
Facts.
so I kind of took that as well. As me being present, not
Yes.
just being there as a body, but being actually there and involved and active, with my children. And
Yes.
and that's something that I've learned, throughout the years, like I said, of my mental health experience. Because one thing I will say, Brother Marquez, that this line of work has taught me
Hmm.
the value of family and having
Yes.
those people,
Yes.
individuals, be in your corner.
Yes, sir.
Just something simple like being able to call my mom and say, "Hey, mom, I got to work extra shift.
Yes, sir.
Can you get the kids?" You don't know how valuable that is, and
Yes, sir.
just that little thing makes the difference between me having to do something, immoral or illegal versus, going the traditional or the right route.
Yes, sir.
So for sure, yeah. But it's just little things that I picked up along the way.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? And I spoke some. I made a Facebook post. I believe it was yesterday or a couple days ago. About the new Space Jam. And um, it could be me. It could be me biased. We grew up on the original Space Jam. With Michael Jordan. And all that. But and I'm a LeBron James fan and all that. But I don't know, man. It could be just me. But I wasn't that keen on the movie. However, but what I do appreciate about the movie is at the end of the movie that he had the courage to apologize to his son and tell him these are the areas that I messed up on, and I'm sorry. Moving forward, I want you to be who you are, and I'm going to support you and whatever that looks like. You know what I'm saying? And so I believe that that was a great message. I appreciated that message that it brought out. That as a black man, as a father, I have the courage. I can say I'm sorry, and I can tell you, this is where I messed up at. I have to acknowledge that first I messed up, and then I have to have the courage to say I'm sorry, and to continue to make it and to make it right moving forward. And
Yeah,
so,
very
as
much.
an African American man and an African American father, we have to have the courage. We have to first, acknowledge that there are some issues. There
Yeah,
are some
for
things
sure.
that we need to correct and just get better at, and then having to the courage to move on. Courage being the the middle, the median. The
Hmm.
word of the Lord speaks, be of good courage.
Hmm.
Because that is the median. Once we become courageous, it's an uphill from there. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? And you spoke of something else, being present. Uh,
Hmm.
the 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 value in being present. Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is one win away from his first championship, he spoke of something that was extremely profound, and I made it into my mantra just today. And he said, "To focus on the past is my ego. To focus on the future is my pride. So I have to stay in the present moment to remain humble."
Oh
And
wow,
so we
wow.
have to learn that being present, being stationary, you said it, showing love, not making it about ourselves and not making it about the things that we've been through, and allowing that to be you know venture into other areas that we are influential, but being present for our brothers and our sisters and our friends and our sons and our daughters is
Hmm.
extremely important. And that was
Very
very
much.
profound, what you said about being present.
Very much. Yeah. And another thing too, and once again, we always have to bring into the issues of that we deal with as a people and as a race, because there's so many different layers that we have to unpack, or address whenever we're being parents to our children.
Sure.
Things that most other races may not even have to address,
Sure.
and even to talk about, you
Yes.
know. But a little bit of a side note from that, in being present, hitting on that, literally my family and I, we had just spent the weekend in Michigan,
Okay.
and my third oldest, I'm sorry, son, he was on the dean's list. And
Wow.
so I, as a father, made the decision to make the trip,
Yes.
all the way to Saginaw, Michigan,
Yes.
just to spend the weekend with him, encouraging him. Great job, wonderful. Because on the flip side, we can always be there, to reprimand or to correct or to
Sure.
instruct, which those things are necessary as well.
Sure.
But also, I also need to show him my positive, unconditional, positive regard, my love. I'm proud of you.
Yes.
Way to go.
Yes.
Encourage them. I got to be the first person, especially as a black man.
Yes, sir.
I got to be the first person to say, "Hey, way to go! I'm glad you're doing this. Keep up the good work, son.
Yes.
You making me proud. I'm willing doing this.
Yes.
I'm
Yes,
glad
sir.
that you're doing this.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
it's just like you said about being present as a person, as a father,
Yes.
even as an individual. Here's some mistakes that I've made that I don't want you to make.
Yes.
Here's some ways that I see, you're being like me in a negative way. Hey, I want to guide you away from that. But
Yes.
also here's some things that I see that you're doing well. And I
Yes.
want to encourage that. And I want to be the number one cheerleader and behind you in doing
Yes,
that.
sir.
So
Absolutely, man. That's awesome, man. Congratulations to your son.
thank you,
Congratulations
sir.
to you as well, raising your son to have that
And,
mindset.
and I'm sorry, I got to mention both. My oldest son also
All
has
right.
all A's as well. I think he had one grade that was a C, but that
Okay.
was some issues with a professor. So
All
I
right.
have actual two sons that are very much scholars in the colleges that they're attending. So I got to give a shout out to both of them. So
For sure,
can't
man.
leave
That's
out one.
that's what I love to see. I love to hear that, man.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. Give me as we wrap up, just give me some pointers, just a couple pointers, Damion. How, what are some techniques or some ways or some paths that we can blaze on breaking this stigma within the African American race, within the African American community, and within African American men?
Oh boy. That's a question that we could do a whole nother session on just that alone.
Yes,
Pointers to break the stigma. Um Vulnerability.
yes,
Vulnerability.
yes,
Both in relationships as individuals,
yes,
professionally, vulnerability. That is key because when you're vulnerable, that lets me know, that I can touch you. First, let me go here spiritually, something both you and I can deal with. One of the first things that Christ did once he, arose from the dead is he showed them his wounds.
yes. Wow.
Look at look at the nail prints, look at the hole where my side is, look
Yes,
at,
sir.
so that you can identify with me, so
Yes,
you
sir.
can see, who I am. Vulnerability is key.
Yes, sir.
Showing that, hey, I failed, I've messed up.
Yes,
I don't get it always right. I don't always get it perfect. As a matter of fact, I've made some outright mistakes,
yes,
and so vulnerability is definitely key at the top of
yes.
that list. Secondly, transparency.
Wow.
Transparency, seeing me for who I am.
Yes,
Yes, I'm a father. Yes, I'm a minister. Yes, I'm a leader in the community. Yes, I'm this mental health administrator. But I'm also a man. I'm also a human being. Who has feelings. Who has emotions and who has triumphs. And victories, but also who has some failures and some setbacks.
yes,
And transparency. Letting both children and community see you for who you are.
yes.
And then also the third and probably the most important, a grounded sense of spirituality,
Wow.
knowing that I am here for a purpose, that
Yes,
God has made me and designed me, and
yes,
I'm a, still a word from my pastor, for such a time as this.
yes, sir.
Like he's put me here for a purpose.
Yes, sir.
There's a goal that I have to accomplish. There's a reason that I'm here,
Yes, sir.
for some specific people as well that I need to touch and that I need to be, interacting with and being effective to and for.
Yes, sir.
We always heard it saying somebody's watching you, even when you don't think so.
Yes, sir.
Somebody's watching you.
Yes, sir.
And just understanding that I'm here for a purpose and God created me for a reason and fulfilling that reason. So
Yes.
those would probably be my top three:
Man.
vulnerability, transparency, and some sort of God-centered focus.
Yes. Yes, sir. And you, man, listen, that man, you just open up some amazing cans right there. I mean, just being spiritual, not religious. You know,
Correct.
but being spiritual, being tuned into God. Of course, according to Romans 12:2, we have to be transformed by the renewing here. You know what I'm saying?
Very much.
Where it all
Very much.
starts, man. And so I'm so excited. I appreciate your time. We wrapping up, man.
Thank you,
Before we
sir.
go, I just want you to tell the folks how can they get in touch with you, your social media, your email, in time maybe there could be a crisis situation. How can they get in touch with you in the Cincinnati area, Columbus, or even the Cleveland area, anywhere?
Yeah, by all means. Yeah, I don't mind. I'll put out my personal stuff, very much so, because I'm all over the place, but I'm also in training. So I'm looking forward to much experience and as much training as I can get possible. And this is kind of a hands-on field.
Yes, sir.
You kind of got
Thanks.
to get your feet wet in this field.
Yes,
But
sir.
I will, my phone number, actually, I'll give it, as well as my social media connection. I'm
Yes.
on Facebook as D Boyd. Most of the time I'm putting, personal pictures of, my family up. So you'll see that. But D Boyd, is my personal Facebook page that anybody can, reach out to me at any time. I'm not very secretive as far as how to connect with me. And then
Yes.
also my job line, I'm affiliated with a company called Families First Health Services of Ohio. And my number with them is 513-712-7107. We are we unfortunately we only deal with Medicaid eligible patients at the time, so we don't take private insurance. But if you are a private insurance recipient and you're interested in getting help, I can refer you to some other agencies out here where I
Yes.
am in the Cincinnati area. So
Yes.
once again, 513-712-7107, Families First Health Services of Ohio, particularly located in Cincinnati, Ohio. Feel free to reach out to me, and we can kind of get you some direction. We deal with all mental health issues. We do counseling, case management, as well as group therapy as well. So
Wow. Yes, sir. So that's DEE Boyd on
that's
Facebook.
correct. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes, sir. D Boyd. Yes.
E Boyd.
DEEBOYD.
Got you, man. Listen, so thank you. I'm extremely appreciative of your time, of your knowledge, everything you bring to this field, man. I'm excited to
Thank
be
you,
in
sir.
this field and this fight with you, man. Ambassadors in making this thing come to pass. I
Thank
just
you,
want
sir.
to remind everyone who are viewing that we have a conference that's coming up. If you guys want to, register for the conference, please go register today. There is a 25% off discount for our conference, a Mental Health and Faith Conference, coming to Cleveland,
Awesome.
Ohio. That is
Awesome.
September 24th through the 25th. We have some awesome guests. You guys can follow us on our Instagram and our Facebook and on our website. Our Instagram is Mind MYB Impact. You can also follow us on Facebook at MYB hyphen Mind Your Business, or even go to our website at www.mindmyb.com. I'm sorry, .org. And just find out everything that we're doing. If you want to partner with us, there's ways that you can partner. If you want to be a part of our MYB family, I want you to text MYB fam to 94253. All right, it's at the bottom of your
Sure.
screen right now. MYB fam to 94253. I want you guys to connect with us. Let's do some building. Let's talk about mental health. You want to come onto the show? I'd be more than happy to have you on. We just dissect this thing. But until then, I want you guys to always remain positive. Always know that God is on your side, and you can have a new life that starts right here in your mind and in your thinking. Again, I want to thank our special guest, my big brother, Damion
Thank you,
Boyd,
sir.
for coming on. And I
Thank
will
you.
be talking to you guys next week. Until I see y'all, I'll be praying for y'all. I want you to know that I love y'all. Peace.
Thank you, sir.